Like, comment, subscribe.
When you think of your father, you probably think of how great he is, how loving, and how much he has done for you. But everyone doesn't have a great father. In fact, some people got the worst fathers ever. Let's take a look at the 4 worst fathers in modern American history. On a cold winter's day in 2020, 29-year-old Austin Stevens claimed he was bathing his 10-month-old daughter Zara. He stepped out to make a drink in the kitchen. Suddenly he heard a thud. Zara began crying and he went back into the bathroom. He said he took her out of the tub and brought her into his bedroom and tried to comfort her by rubbing her body until she eventually calmed down. He said after he rubbed her body, her head tilted down and she became unresponsive. He said he immediately called the police. Zara was rushed to Einstein Medical Center by the police where she was pronounced dead. An autopsy on Zara revealed she was sexually assaulted in her rectum, which caused major trauma, and she also had blunt force trauma to her head, which caused her death. The coroner's office ruled that the 10-month-old baby's death was homicide. Zara died a deeply disturbing death at the hands of her father. Stevens will have to answer to murder charges, Montgomery County District Attorney Kevin Steele told reporters in October. It is hard to imagine this child's death being any more traumatic. Sexual assault on an infant, followed by inaction by the father to save her life, led to her death, he said. During the investigation of Zara's death, detectives found disturbing searches in Stevens' phone. Up to an hour prior to calling 911, Stevens conducted multiple Google searches on his cell phone, including, "If baby stopped breathing, what if you don't hear a baby heartbeat, my baby isn't breathing, and how do you know if a baby is dead?" Stevens also conducted social media and text conversations with 2 women during the time that Zara lay dying. The texts were not related to the baby's condition, according to detectives. Stevens remains behind bars at the Montgomery County Correctional Facility in Pennsylvania and will be arraigned at a yet-to-be-scheduled date. Zara's mom Erica Scruggs wrote on Facebook following her daughter's death, "He fooled us all, I promise you from the bottom of my heart. Please do not attack his family or his friends. He will pay." In 1991, in Michigan, Gregory Green stabbed his 6 months pregnant wife in the face and chest, killing her and their unborn child. Then, he called 911 and waited for the police to arrive. Green was sentenced to 15 to 25 years for the death of his wife. Unfortunately, the murder charges for the unborn child were dismissed. Green was denied parole 4 times because he had not shown remorse for his crime, had not gained adequate insight, and had a lack of empathy, according to Michigan Department of Corrections spokesman Chris Gotts. But Detroit pastor Fred Harris didn't agree, so he wrote to the Michigan Parole Board in August 2005 stating, "Gregory and I were friends before his mishap and he was incarcerated. He was a member of our church. I feel he has paid for his unfortunate lack of self-control and the damage he has caused as much as possible and is sorry." A year later, Pastor Harris wrote the parole board a second note stating, "If he was to be released, he would be welcomed as a part of our church community, and whatever we could do to help him adjust, we would." Green was released in 2008 after only serving 16 years. Upon release, he married Faith Harris, Pastor Harris's daughter, although Faith already had 2 children from a previous relationship. She also had 2 daughters, Coy and Kaylee, with Green. Then came the unbelievable. Early in the morning of September 21, 2016, Gregory Green put duct tape on the muffler of the family car and attached a plastic tube to it, the car filled with carbon monoxide with his 2 daughters, Coy and Kaylee, inside. After 4-year-old Coy and 5-year-old Kaylee were deceased, Green moved their bodies back inside the home. Next, Faith Harris Green found herself bound with duct tape and zip ties in the basement. Her foot had been shot and her face slashed with a box cutter. Her 2 teenage children, Gregory Green's stepchildren, were with her, dead of gunshot wounds. She watched as they were murdered by her husband, and her 2 younger children were dead upstairs, poisoned with carbon monoxide. The killer was Gregory Green, the same man whose freedom Faith's father advocated for. As Green did when he killed his first wife, he called 911 and waited for the police to arrive. When the cops arrived, Green told them he had just shot his family, and they were inside the house dead. Unfortunately, all 4 children died, but miraculously the wife survived. During the sentencing hearing, Faith Harris Green spoke to her children's killer, perhaps for the last time. "You are a con artist. You are a monster. You are a devil in disguise. You are now forever exposed. No punishment will be enough. Not even torture and death would be justice. Your justice will come when you burn in hell for all eternity for murdering 4 innocent children, all because you're insecure." Nobody knows why he killed the children. He wouldn't say, but he did admit to killing them in court. He said, "Unfortunately, I took the lives of Kaylee, Coy, Chadney, and Kara. I shot my ex-wife. I left my 2 girls in the car. Kara and Chadney. I shot them." Green received what amounts to a life sentence. He'll be 97 by the time he's eligible for parole. On November 21, 2016 at St. John Baptist Catholic Church, 42-year-old Gerardo Mendoza Ordaz burst into the house of worship and proceeded to drown Maria Jose Ordaz Chavarria, his 4-year-old daughter, in the church's baptismal pool, with his 9-year-old son standing next to him watching as he murdered his sister. The baptismal pool is very large, about 1 to 2 feet deep, 8 feet wide, and 10 feet long. On Sundays, the doors to the church are often left unlocked for those who wish to linger in the sanctuary and pray. Later that night, Ordaz showed up behind the police station, naked, and crying for help as he held his unconscious daughter in his arms. His son was also there, but the boy was not harmed. Hours later, after a lengthy, detailed statement from Ordaz, the man was arrested in connection with his daughter's slaying. Eventually, Gerardo Mendoza Ordaz was sent to Napa State Hospital to undergo mental competency testing. Florida man John Johnchuk had custody of his 5-year-old daughter because the girl's mother had health problems and could not care for the girl. In 2015, just after midnight, 25-year-old John Johnchuk's PT Cruiser raced past Officer William Vickers, who was on his way home from work in his patrol car. He began to follow Johnchuk but never got close enough to read the license plate and didn't know Johnchuk's 5-year-old daughter, Phoebe, was inside the vehicle. Johnchuk stopped at the top of the Tampa Bay Bridge and got out. Vickers, fearing something wasn't right, pulled up behind him, pulled his service weapon and yelled at Johnchuk to show his hands. Johnchuk yelled, "You have no free will." He grabbed Phoebe from the back seat, held her over the side of the bridge for a quick moment and then dropped her 62 feet. Johnchuk drove off but was soon arrested. Vickers raced down a nearby ladder to a dock below the bridge but couldn't see Phoebe in the dark water. A marine rescue boat was dispatched to try and find her. Sadly, they found her body hours later and she was deceased. 12 hours before Phoebe's death, Johnchuk's divorce lawyer, Genevieve Torres, called a state child protection hotline fearing for the girl's safety. Torres told the Department of Children and Families operator that Johnchuk had driven to 3 churches in his pajamas with Phoebe that morning, called Torres God and asked her to translate his stepmother's century-old Swedish Bible, which he was obsessed with and carried with him everywhere he went. Johnchuk was also paranoid that Phoebe wasn't his child, Torres said. However, the operator thought the attorney was more worried about Johnchuk's safety than the girls and did not report the call to authorities. Less than 24 hours after that call, Johnchuk threw his daughter off the bridge. During his trial, his public defender, Jessica Manuel, told jurors Johnchuk loved Phoebe more than anything else in the world, and that there was no evidence he acted out of anger. The prosecution painted a very different image of Johnchuk, one in which he was motivated by anger to kill the toddler over fear that the child's mother would take her away from him, and he was jealous because his own mother, who he said was inattentive to him as a child, doted on her granddaughter. In 2019, John Johnchuk was sentenced to life in prison despite his lawyer's pleas to delay sentencing.
We release new videos every Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. Subscribe now, so you never miss a video. Thank you for watching, and see you next time.